Spock has never communicated the odds. It's calculated. Isn't it calculated?
Calculated, yes, calculated.
Spock has never calculated the odds of getting a Royal Fizbin. Lieutenant Hadley checks the language banks for a heater, and Bang Bang makes the sweetest little automatic in the world. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton and Walter Koenig.
Hello.
Wow. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Original Series, Season 2, Episode 17, A Piece of the Action. Story by David P. Harmon, teleplay by David P. Harmon and Gene L. Kuhn, directed by James Koenig. This was January 12th, 1968. Where were you? And how you guys doing today?
All right.
All right. Walter, first things first.
Yes.
Let's just get into this one. When I said over the phone, we're going to be doing a piece of the action, you said, oh, I remember this one.
Yeah. I remember it for several reasons. And viewing it again, as I did yesterday, it brought back a lot of memories. And the fact that I knew two of the guest actors very well.
Wow.
One was a friend for 60 years. Lee Delano, who played the guy in the brown suit, the gangster who initially stops Kirk and Spock.
Halo.
And Vic Tayback, who played the other guy, Krakow Karek.
Oh, Krakow.
Yeah. I knew him quite well. We were in the same theater company together for years. Good guy, very talented. They were both very talented.
Vic Tayback, right? Vic Tayback? I think his name was Vic Tayback.
Yeah. We belonged to the Company of Angels, which was a small theater company in Hollywood. And we worked together. We did a play called Blood Wedding.
Blood Wedding?
Blood Wedding, yeah. It was a Spanish play about two warring families. And Vic was the head of one family. And I don't remember who the head of. Oh, I do know. That's another story, though. If we have time, I'll tell you that. But Lee and I were really good friends for a long time.
Yeah, can you tell us about Lee? Because he actually did a really nice job in this episode. He comes off, he's the first gangster that they run into with the brown suit that you mentioned, kind of like the right hand to the boss. Any kind of other work that you remember him being known for?
Any work that I remember who?
For Lee. Any other acting jobs that you might have remembered him in?
Vic. Well, Vic was in a very successful movie, and it transferred to TV series. He played the cook in a series. I can't remember the title.
Oh yeah, Alice.
Mel Sharples in Alice. Wow, how do you know these things, you guys?
Yeah, you don't remember that show? It was like a Mel's Diner, I think was the name of it was some kind of, I think Alice worked at Mel's Diner. He was the owner of the diner named Mel. And
right.
she was the main waitress in there. And it was I watched this show as a kid growing up. I don't know why.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, I watched this show all the time. Yeah. Who's that woman to the right of him? She's a famous... she was Alice in the show. I forgot her name. Valerie Bertinelli, I want to say, but I'm not sure.
Sounds
well, back to the piece of the action.
Piece of the action.
Yeah, okay. So here's what I find always so interesting, Walter, is that every single time now we're 17 for 17 or 18 for 18. When we say, we're going to be reviewing this episode, you go, I know him, I knew her, I was in a play with him, I did a movie with her, So it really helps to give us this perspective that you were this working actor that was working a lot in Hollywood, in LA, before, during, and after. And a lot of people, 60 years later, a lot of fans, they just think, oh, you're Chekhov. And the fact of the matter is, you were a lot of people, a lot of characters in a lot of productions with a lot of actors. And you knew a lot of well-known actors and very well-established actors in their own right. Do you ever, how do I say this? Do you ever think, boy, I wish they'd seen me in something other than Star Trek? I wish, like, were there ever any other productions that you were really proud of that you wish that the fans had also seen?
Well, some of the TV shows still run. The Hitchcock Hour runs. I'm sure there are others that run as well. Yeah, I had some opportunities in other venues, which were exciting and fun. And I got fired once. That's another story. In a movie of the week with Mia Farrow, and at the end of the production, they fired me. But as I say, that's another story.
Yeah, we could talk about that in the roundtable one day. That'll be fun. But anyway,
what's that?
I said that's something we could discuss in the roundtable one day, someday in the future. That'll be fun. But please continue.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I find it was very entertaining. I found it very entertaining and fun to watch. But I'm also wondering at the same time whether being entertaining was necessarily as good a thing as it turned out. That's not what I mean. It didn't. It seemed more like a Damon Runyon episode than a Star Trek episode. It was the gangsters and the prototypical, stereotypical gangsters that Bill played, and the other guys as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. But are we really to take it seriously? Can we really say, is this something? Is this an alien world that they landed in? Or is it just time out to just have fun? I mean, right at the beginning, when Captain Kirk is threatened, he smiles. He has this smile on his face, like he knows this isn't really going to happen. That these GATs, these guns that they use, didn't really have bullets in them. So my sense was that the writers and the producers sat around when they were writing this and creating it and just decided they were going to have fun. And it was so appealing to Bill because it was a chance to really ham it up in a positive way. I don't mean that negatively. It was time out from Star Trek. That's the way it felt to me.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of, and Sirach will know what I'm talking about, is the later Star Trek series. After this one, they had something called the holodeck. And every Star Trek series, it's basically like, you walk into a big movie theater and it's like a hologram. So you could pretend to be Robin Hood, you could pretend to be the Old West. And this felt like the original series version of that, where they say, you don't have the holodeck yet, so you don't have this technology to go anywhere and do anything. So they just visited a planet that was 1920s Chicago gangsters. It felt very much like, the original take me away from Star Trek for a minute and just do anything you want episode. And I wanted to ask you, Sirach, when you saw them dressed up like this, did you recognize it? Did you say, I've seen these pictures before, or I've seen this cosplay before, or was it totally a blank slate?
No, I've seen photographs of Kirk and Spock dressed up with these fedoras and wearing these double-breasted suits. I've seen those photographs circulated, so I wasn't sure where it emanated from. Watching this episode, I said, "Oh, I see. This is where it comes from." So that was something that I instantly identified. And then to speak to your point that you made about subsequent Star Trek shows incorporating this exact kind of a theme, which is a period piece, taking us into a period piece, whether it's the westerns, like you said, Robin Hood,
Sherlock Holmes,
Sherlock Holmes, and all of those kinds of period pieces eventually came subsequently. On Deep Space Nine, we had Bada Boom, Bada Bing, which took us to Old Vegas. But essentially, I agree with Walter in two things. One, that it was fun and entertaining. So I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was an entertaining watch. However, I didn't think it crossed enough of the Star Trek science fiction checkboxes for me to make me buy into that part of the story. If you just want to say, hey, we're just going to have fun and play in 1930 Chicago and, we're just going to run around and do things, that's fine. But if you're going to make a story about how basically, this is a butterfly effect story. This is about how one civilization can affect another from one small artifact being left behind. And I think that was the central premise to the idea, which I like, because how many times in our own archaeology do we discover artifacts and prescribe all of this stuff to it and build legend and religion and all kinds of stories about space travel and time travel and the gods and the heavens. And I think that it's a great story to kind of, at its root, that's a great story. And I wanted to hear more about the science fiction, sci-fi element of this story, as opposed to just playing cosplay in 1930 Chicago.
Yep, I agree with you there, Sirach. Walter seems to be thinking about it. He's not sure if he agrees or not, but I would have...
No, I do agree.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting aspect, was this USS Horizon ship came by 100 years ago, left some artifacts, and that formed, a society, or the society formed itself around that. And that's a really interesting story, and I would have loved to dig a little deeper in that. And you agree with that, Walter?
Well, I keep prefacing it by saying that I found it very entertaining. It was fun, but it's impossible to, from my point of view, to take it seriously. I just didn't take it seriously, and Bill had fun with it, but it was really camping. I mean, the whole thing was really camping. And the way he did it, the old gangster kind of thing, was a caricature, and just sat back and enjoyed it, just relaxed, and dismissed the unreality of it. I just enjoyed it as a piece. That's all.
My nerdy brain couldn't let go fully. I know it's kind of like a leave your brain at the door and just sit back and relax and enjoy it. Like forget about it and just watch the show. But for me, I couldn't help but be constantly nitpicking. Like how Walter, you said that Kirk smiled when, for a minute there, there are a lot of moments like that where they just didn't seem to have the gravity of, there's a gun pointed at you and they're just kind of like, yeah, well, whatever. Or when Kirk grabs the guy by the scruff of his neck and the guy doesn't even really react, he just kind of relaxed. And so those are your signs and those are your hints of like, hey, it's campy, it's fun, just sit back, relax, and enjoy it. But my nerdy brain couldn't let go of it. I was just like, why isn't he angry? Why isn't he reacting more? So I feel like maybe that was more of a more popular style back in the 60s, to where people were able to just kind of relax. And I feel like nowadays people nitpick a lot more, and I feel like I suffer from that myself. But Walter, were you able to completely put away those nitpicks, or did you kind of notate them as they went by?
Oh no, I notated them. I mean, and never was fully immersed in the story. I was always watching the performances, and Bill in particular, just they gave him his head and they just let him have fun. That's what it seemed like what they might have said. Just have fun, and he obviously did. So it was a delight. I'm not insulted. It's it wasn't pure Star Trek. It wasn't. It was out of step with what I think the story ideas were supposed to be, but I enjoyed it. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't suspend it either. There were too many problems for me in the story. For one, I was thinking, these guys are humans. They're not even like some alien race. So, I mean, that was the first thing that I would at least let it be an alien. Put some kind of little makeup prosthetic on all these guys.
Make them purple.
I don't know, something to make them different than humans. Because then they come from us. They evolved from us. How are they any different than Kirk? So that was my first hurdle I had to get over. How is this exact replica of humans living on another planet with the same technology as us, as far as brownstones and Model T Fords? So I was thinking, I just don't even see how they could develop that in another place. Now, if they did a time travel episode, that would make my head get around it a little bit better. But the fact that it was another planet with exact people looking like humans, who had also the exact radios and style of clothing and everything else that we have on Earth, how could they develop all of that from a book? I just don't see that would be possible. But nonetheless, after, I wish they put some prosthetics on their nose or something to make them non-human. It would have kind of forgave it a little bit. The other thing that would have given it an excuse would have been is if this was in a simulation program like a holodeck. Mm-hmm. Then I could fathom this being a computer program that was just running a system. So putting all of that aside, then you have the seriousness of the moment, and I felt like that was really brought down a notch by Shatner's performance. I thought he was too cavalier and too campy for the moment. And, to Leonard Nimoy's credit, he did not try to participate with that as much as he could. He did resist playing along and kept his Spock kind of demeanor as best he could.
He did have one line though, when he says, "That's a double negative."
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and I went back and listened. I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is." I don't remember what that line was.
Yeah. But there were moments too, even for him, where it was a little bit more expressive than he normally is. I thought in the radio scene when they were trying to contact Uhura on the bridge, and he had frustrations from he couldn't reach it instantly. He made a facial expression that was really sour, let's say, and it was outside of a Spock, emotionless expression. It's one where you're kind of pissed off and you're sour about not accomplishing whatever it is. So the little moments like that. But other than that, I just felt like, they needed more science fiction. They needed to be talking about the rules of engagement. They needed to be talking about first contact principles and stuff of that nature. Just whatever the protocol that Federation has. I would have liked to hear a little bit about that as well.
I just wanted to jump on Leonard Nimoy and how much fun he may or may not have had in this episode. There was one scene that cracked me up, and that was when, Spock and Bones, they beam up and then they beam back down. And when they beamed back down and they look around and they see these guns pointed at them, Spock looked hilariously annoyed. He didn't say a word, but Leonard just did this like, oh, geez. Like, look, that was really good. And he had to have had fun doing at least that moment because it was very funny and it was slightly exaggerated for how he usually plays a Vulcan. So I think he was feeling the scene.
He played a little bit too. Yes,
I think he had a little fun with that one, and it really cracked me up. It showed well. It wasn't even like a close up. You could just see it. I think it was a 2-shot, and he just looked great. He was very funny.
Yeah, I thought he had another moment like that where when Kirk was coming up with the whole card game BS, and he was like, "Oh, you never played Fizbin and this and that." Spock was looking at him like, and there was a moment there when he asked him to agree with him, where he's like, "Yes, and the way he agreed with him was again a reluctant, kind of expressive and emotionally expressive kind of, okay, we're playing that game type of agreeing. And so I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it, but it was a little bit past the boundary of what Spock does. So that's Spock playing around, essentially. You get very, very small, subtle nuances in his performances to see that he's being a little bit different and a little bit playful, let's say.
There was probably more gum chewing in this episode than in the whole generation of television. All the ladies were chewing gum.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that was sci-fi was the names Krakow, Oxmix, right? Those were bang up names right there. But I do want to point out Zabo, I think was one of them. Couple things. One is my biggest nitpick. I can go ahead and say it right now because we have a minute before we have to take our break. My biggest nitpick is that the Iosians were introduced as extremely intelligent and somewhat imitative. What we got was somewhat unintelligent and extremely imitative, right? I had to go back. I was like, did they really call them extremely intelligent? Because not one of them seemed bright. Some of them, when Kirk was banging and he's going, help me, they ran into the room, just full sprint into a room. These guys they're like talking about 40% this, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I just thought that was the one thing I could not get past. I was like, why are they calling them? They're imitative for sure. Intelligent. Walter, do they seem smart to you?
What did I think?
Did you think they were?
I agree with you. Totally agree with you.
All right.
Yeah, I agreed as well. I didn't think anybody appeared intelligent in that mix. Everybody was dumbed down.
Except the kid.
The kid was smart.
Yeah, he's going to be a boss in 10 years.
Yeah, and I was surprised they didn't name that kid as some gangster name that eventually would grow up to be, Al Capone. Hey, what's your name, kid? My name's Capone, Al Capone. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a nice twist right there. But yeah, nobody seemed intelligent. Everybody seemed, it was just, like I said, it was one of those episodes that you just have to say, okay, we're playing dress up. This is a costume party. This is just a chance to pretend like, you have an accent and you got fancy heaters and all those guns and all of this stuff. It was an opportunity to go back to that kind of Great Gatsby time, but I didn't see it as a genuinely believable science fiction story. Was it fun to watch these characters dress up and play? To some degree. Um, but again, I wanted more science. Put more science in the science fiction show, and then you at least give us that. Some protocol on what Federation's guidelines are for disrupting societies. That would have been some kind of background for that.
Well,
I just yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about on the other side.
Yeah. So as we jump to our break, Walter and Srock, may I just point out to you guys that there is a gigantic nitpick with the both of you. With the both of you, and I have proof that this is one of the greatest episodes in the history of Star Trek, and that the Iosians are the most beloved alien race in the history of Star Trek. I will show you that proof. Walter's laughing like he doesn't believe. You watch. I will show you that proof next week. Everybody, no, on the other side, we're going to take our quick break. We'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Srock frickin' Lofton and Walter frickin' Koenig. Two legends and me.
Hello.
All right, here are the trivioids of the week, everybody. The Enterprise is approaching Sigma Iosha 2. The USS Horizon was lost with all hands shortly after leaving Iosha 2. The Iosians are extremely intelligent and somewhat imitative. Krako's getting more gall all the time. Oxmix wants more heaters. Lieutenant Hadley checks the language banks for a heater. Spock has never calculated the odds of getting a Royal Fizbin. Bang Bang makes the sweetest little automatic in the world. Spock is not sanguine on hunches. Captain Kirk leaves much to be desired as a taxi driver. And Bones may have left his communicator in Bella Oxmix's office. All right. So here's your proof, everybody. It's coming to you fast and furious. 1.5 years ago, Virtual TrekCon did the Lappy Awards. Everybody knows the Lappy Awards, the Star Trek award show where the fans decide the winners. Walter got a Lifetime Achievement Award at that year, I believe. And all kinds of fun things. Jake and Nog were great winners of like best friends and things like that. We've had a lot of fun. Here's the point. Picture it. The year is 2024. In the category of which one-off alien species is the most fun, the finalists were the Antikins, the Mintakins, the Dosai, the Baku, the Komar, the Duplers, the Enterprisians, of course, and the Iosians. And the winner was, as voted on by the fans, the Iosians. These guys were voted by the fans as the number one most fun and delightful and entertaining one-off alien race ever. And here's the kicker that reminded me of it. Srock, that kid, Sheldon, what was his name? His name was Sheldon Collins, grew up, became a dentist in Denver. We tracked him down. Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel found him, and he accepted the award live on their behalf from all the way from Denver. Anyway, that's really cool. So the fans actually really enjoy this, and I think as time goes on, once you accept what this episode's about, you can enjoy it a lot more. And this is actually a very, very famous, beloved, and legendary episode. That's why we're always seeing the cosplay. That's why people are always talking about Fizbin, that card game. So I just want to say, your thoughts?
Go ahead, Srock.
Well, I thought Fizbin was in Portugal, but or But no, I don't know. Look, was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. I'm not going to say that it wasn't fun. The guy who played Vic Tayback, who was Mel on the show Alice, I loved him as Mel on Alice. He played this obnoxious, never happy business owner who always gave Alice a hard time. And I thought, it was a good show. He had a pack of cigarettes always rolled up on his
Nice.
sleeve. I always remember that as a kid. It's like, why does he have that there? But is he a really good curmudgeon kind of character that I loved him. I thought Krakow was fun to watch. He threw his girlfriend on Kirk, like, hey, like sweeten him up a little bit while I talk to him, give him a back rub. I mean, was it fun to watch? Yes. Was the main boss in this who Ox Mix, played by Anthony Caruso? I thought he also did a fantastic job. I enjoyed him. One of my favorite lines that he had was he kept calling everybody dummy. He's like, "Oh yeah, I was hoping you'd say that, dummy," and he kept calling people dummy, which I thought was funny. Um, I was expecting some more. This is what I really was expecting. This is the part, I guess, that I thought was too playful of it. I thought what was too playful was that the Federation is going to come in there and pretend to be essentially the bigger mob boss and say, you're going to have to extort these group of people for 40% of the cut or whatever the deal is. And to me, that's not the intellectual problem solving and critical thinking that I'm used to when I watch this show. Had they actually sat these guys down and talked about the importance of their peace and there being peace and them not warring, and or uh, why that book is not reflective of the human experience and culture, and it's just a small microcosm of a tiny window in time, and if they want to move forward they need to advance past that one time like they have as a culture and society. I think these kinds of arguments could have been laid out in an intellectual way, that these ocean people who are supposedly smart, you could have appealed to their intellect and explained. But obviously, you weren't dealing with an intellectually sound group of individuals that were, at least portrayed. So, I think they missed the ball on having kind of an intellectual discussion about why warring and being committed to war is not a productive thing for any society. Any divided society where half of the people or a third of the people are here, and they're all constantly fighting, I don't see how that advances society, civilization, a planet, or anywhere. So I think they could have appealed to that argument and that debate about reasoning, about logic, about evolution and evolving as a species.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of things could have been talked about. Were they fun to watch? Yes. Do I like that particular time period when they were bootlegging alcohol and walking around with Tommy guns? Yeah, I do like
Yeah,
that.
you do.
I'm a fan of the mob movies, and
Yeah.
so this isn't the original mob kind of beginnings when you watch these mob movies, right? So, do I like it? Yeah, I like Donnie Brasco. I like Casino. I like Goodfellas. I like Godfather. And when you talk about a good mob story, I like it. But when you talk about the Federation coming in there and acting like the bigger mob, and saying, "Hey, we take 40%, and we can bully you guys around, and you just listen to us," that's not a peaceful, logical, critical thinking type resolution that I normally get from Star Trek.
Walter Koenig, you said you had another story about Lee.
I can't. First of all, I can't. There's no point in my expressing what I've already expressed at the very beginning, and what Sirach has so eloquently described as the whole problem with this story, and at the same time, it was entertaining. I came to LA for good in 1960. And the very first stage job I got was a play called The Girls in Summer. And The Girls in Summer was directed by a fellow that I knew from the neighborhood playhouse in New York. He was an assistant to the teachers there, and he graduated to becoming a teacher himself. And he directed this project, and he knew Lee. So I met Lee through Ernie Loso in 1961. He was the lead in the play. Lee, I think, financed it, produced it, and he was the romantic lead. And Ernie cast me to be the comic relief. So our relationship went back that far. It went back to 1961. And as I say, we stayed friends for a long, long time.
What was he like?
Lee?
Yeah.
He was a great guy. I had fun with him. As he got older, he seemed to veer more and more to the right, as some people do. And that wasn't okay with me. So our relationship drifted a little bit, but never was hostile. It was just that I couldn't accommodate the same political feelings that he had. So we sort of went our separate ways. But a delightful guy. I always had a good time with him.
Mm-hmm. It looks here that the director, James Koenig, only directed this one episode of Star Trek. I just had to look that up because I didn't recognize his name, and I feel like we keep seeing the same names over and over and over again, right? This was his one time. Do you remember anything about him at all? I mean, it seems like you just spent the one day or the one half day with him.
I don't.
Yeah.
So,
Sirach, do you remember?
I do remember. No, I looked up James Koenig a little bit. I'm sorry, you were going to say something, Walter.
The degree to which Chekhov was represented on the screen is a very, very definitive explanation of my participation in this episode.
Yeah.
I was in the scene for about 15 seconds. That's it. That's as much as I was in the show.
Yeah. It seemed like you're going to be in it more.
Never being down. I was just on the bridge for one small moment.
But it was at the beginning, so I thought that you were going to be more involved, and then you just you showed up Monday for that first half day, and then you were done for the rest of the week, I guess.
Yeah.
Those are the best. You mentioned James Koenig, and so I did a little bit of looking up on him because, I think he'd be a great director for a different kind of show. I feel like
Totally.
What he was doing is great for, I don't know, Matlock or Bonanza, or I don't know what other kinds of shows he'd be great for, but I didn't feel like he had the full Star Trek repertoire, science fiction repertoire under his belt. So maybe that's why he was a one and done for this particular. And they probably brought him in because he wasn't the sci-fi kind of niche style director. But he did do some things that I thought were interesting. For example, when Spock, McCoy, and Kirk first beam onto the back lots of Paramount, which is 1930 Chicago. When we first see them arrive there, they are in the middle of the street, and the initial angle is an overhead camera angle looking down at the three of them. And I thought that was a good choice. The camera crane goes from the above position, lowers, drops into, and goes into a shot of the scene as they start walking down the street, which was a great shot. But I thought starting it off with the overhead crane shot looking down gave me a kind of fish out of water sensation watching them. It was like, it was a great kind of mood setter because here they are wearing Starfleet uniforms, standing in the middle of the street, with the backdrop of the 30 Chicago behind them. And I thought that's a great shot that he just took because it sets the mood like, whoa, what the hell are these guys doing here? And this looks out of place.
And it seemed like a great set to play in too, by the way. I feel like the actors were probably very happy with those days, thinking, hey, this is we're out of that bridge set. We're out of the sick bay set, and we're out in wherever that studio was. Looked like a good time. Do you know where that was shot, Walter?
What's that?
Do you know where the exteriors were shot?
No, I don't. I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Probably the same place that City on the Edge of Forever was shot. I mean, I love the exteriors. I don't know why. It felt like a breath of fresh air. We weren't so confined. The bridge, is a great set, but there's only so much you can do. But I love the way they use the exteriors on this show.
Yeah,
I do too. And I'm pretty sure. My guess is it was at Paramount's backlot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't know anything about Paramount's backlot from 60 years ago, so I don't know. But did you feel like you recognized it at all, Sirach, or you just assuming?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I reckon it looks like the backlot of Paramount behind the blue screen where they have all the facades set up, the brownstones and whatnot. It looked like that's where they filmed it. I'm not sure that was there in 1967 or 8, but I'm pretty sure that's where they filmed it. Looked familiar to me. We did Far Beyond the Stars in that same backlot.
Right. And that was just 30 years later.
Right.
That cuts the time in half.
Yeah, and all you do is if you get the right cars to dress up with the buildings, it's just, they got the old Model T looking cars. Really was part of the overall aesthetics of the visual. James Koenig, by the way, went on to produce a show called Welcome Back, Kotter.
Kotter.
Whoa, it's a big one.
Yeah, that's his show. So yeah, he was he definitely stayed in television. Directing this episode wasn't the end of his career. He went on to do several shows, including The Courtship of Eddie's Father, Chico and the Man, and then Welcome Back, Kotter. So yeah, he did a pretty good job in this episode. Look, was it fun? I thought so. Was it interesting? Like, again, I liked it. They put a pimp hat on Kirk, which was like the feathery fedora is more of a pimp hat, I thought. I didn't realize. You see the material on that hat he has more of a texture of like a feathery kind of texture to it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's more of a pimp hat than it is like
that's a good point.
A mob boss gangster hat. I think they use a little more of the one.
It's a little more felty.
Yeah, that's too felty.
So I've got one more nitpick for y'all, and I hope you don't get mad at me for this one. But I feel as though Dr. McCoy is not taking his job seriously anymore. Because when they first arrive on the planet, and suddenly there's a drive-by shooting, and a dude gets shot off in the corner.
Several people.
Yeah. And Bones runs up to the living guy, and he's talking to Kirk he runs up along with Kirk, and he's like, that man's dead over there. And I'm like, how do you know he's dead? You just saw a guy getting shot 30 feet away. He's 30 feet away from you. For all you know, he could have got hit in the ankle and just dropped down. But he's just like, he's dead. I wanted Kirk to be like, well, how do you know, Bones? Can you go check on him? He's dead. Whatever. I just forget it. I'm tired. Anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that too, actually. I was like, what kind of doctor doesn't go and at least try to administer some kind of help?
When it's a main character or even a guest star, they are all over it. When it's somebody with no name, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's long dead. No chance. Anyway, speaking of dead, that joke is dead. And it is time for the home run of today's episode. Walter's like, thank God we're done with that joke. Sirach, who gets the home run of today's episode, in your opinion?
I actually think the home run belongs to the mob boss Ox Mix, played by Anthony Caruso. he's the first boss that they met in this show, and he was the one that was extended the offer to be the head boss by Kirk. And I thought that he was really good as an actor in this episode. I liked him. He talked really as equals to everybody. He was playing pool and being casual. He had authority in his performance. He looked like somebody who could be in charge for other people. I just liked his performance. So I think the Anthony Caruso, who played Ox Mix, was my home run hitter for this episode.
Mm-hmm. And his grandson played for the Lakers. Maybe Alex Caruso. What about you, Walter? Who gets the home run of today's episode?
Well, you may not believe it because I expected nobody to know who I was going to even talk about or know who he was. But you guys already spilled the beans. I like the kid.
Yes.
But the kid was really good. It was just delightful. And, good little actor. So that's my choice.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and cool dude. He came on to accept the award for the greatest alien race in the history of all television. The home run of today's episode for me, and by the way, Sirach, we didn't touch on this, but maybe we will on the other side. Ox Mix, I recognized his voice. He just had this, and I don't know if I recognized his voice from something else he's done or just because it was reminiscent of voices of that time period. You know what I mean? Like whatever it was, voiceover or cartoons or something. But yeah, he had a really good, smooth sounding, pleasant voice. Home run in today's episode for me, I think is going to be the director. Actually, although I feel like the kid may be the one that really deserves it the most for me, but I was just happy the director came in. He's only done one episode. He gave us great shots. I liked the lightings. I liked the angles. I liked the editing, except for in one instance that was barely noticeable, some ADR instance. But anyway, overall, I was like, that's why I looked him up. I was like, why doesn't this guy do more episodes for Star Trek? Something not Chicago Gangster. But he did a good job, I thought. I thought he was great. Okay, here are some other people that I think always do a great job, and Sirach always thinks are great. And their names are Dr. Anne-Marie Seagull, the dentist finder, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom TJ, Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom out in Hawaii, Cassandra G., Chuck A., Chris Garris, and Walter's nemesis, Jason M. Oken. All right, everybody, stick around. We will be right back with because he always has his hands crossed, and you say, are you having fun?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back with
Who's Jason?
You're about to find out on the other side with the
that was just thrown in. You weren't really referring to anything specifically.
Oh, I was. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Where?
We'll be right. Well, I hope he's here today. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
On the seventh rule, where the suspense will end. Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule with Sirach Lofton and Walter Koenig. It is time for the free for all with Melissa Longo.
Hey.
Walter's arch nemesis, Jason M. Oken, is here.
What is it you want me to say?
Allison Leach Hyde is here, ready for us to fly. Chuck A. is a TNG fanatic, but he's seen some Star Trek original series, I think. The Dark Lord, Chris McGee, is here wearing a cool Seventh Rule shirt made by Melissa. And the Matt Boardman is here as well, and he's cool. All right. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Well, first I'll say, Melissa, love your background.
Thanks.
I love it. Yeah. I'm going to say this is a fan favorite because I've seen a lot of people cosplay and a lot of people have talked about it. So I'm going to guess it rates higher. 8.2.
Wow. Walter, do you have a guess on IMDb scale of 1 to 10?
I'm sorry, say that again. What, 1 to 10?
Scale of 1 to 10, what do you think is the average score that the fans gave this?
Oh, the piece of the action?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but I'll take a guess. 7.7.
7.7. Okay, that's the Sean Bradley guess. Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know?
I'll go a little higher, 7.9.
7.8.
Wow.
7.3.
Ooh.
Oh, nobody
All
cracked
right.
8 over here. That's me.
Yeah. All bets
Okay.
are in. The answer is, we've got a ringer, everybody. 7.7. Walter
Ding, ding,
got
ding,
it.
ding, 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 ding.
Right on the nose. That's so
Wow.
cool.
You're batting 1,000 right now.
Yeah,
Walter.
nice guess, Walter. Chris McGee, were there some kinds of or some sorts of?
Not that I heard.
I didn't catch any non-appearance mentions either. Did anybody else? All right. Melissa, will you please get us started off on the right track by telling us what you thought of this particular episode, A Piece of the Action?
You know, when I was watching this episode, a certain song kept popping into my head, and it goes something like this. But now I'm blanking on it. I got the horse right here. His name is Paul Revere. And there's a guy that says if the weather's clear, can do. Can do. From Guys and Dolls. And so I got a lot of Guys and Dolls vibes from this episode, and it was fun. It felt like everyone was having fun with the episode. I liked the clothing, and I liked the way they used the lingo and how this alien society was trying to figure out Chicago in the 1920s, and they were giving their own little flavor to it. It's kind of like a little game of telephone, you know, where you kind of get it right, but not quite get it right. So that was fun. And then I really liked Spock and Kirk in this episode and the way they played off of each other. It was really fun, especially with the car and and how Kirk was like, what, are you afraid of cars, Spock? And Spock's like, no, I'm afraid of your driving. Which was awesome. I'm glad that Kirk didn't know how to drive a car because that made it all the more believable. I think the kid did great. Pretty much everyone did really well playing the truth of the scenes, even though this was, you know, kind of an absurd comedy. So it was fun. Yeah, fun.
Great stuff as always, Melissa P. Longo. All right, Jason M. Oken. Is this your favorite season 2 episode of Star Trek?
Well, it's not my favorite, but it certainly is a lot of fun. And that's one thing. If you approach it from that standpoint, there's really a lot here to enjoy. You can actually see everybody's having fun here. I mean, at some level, kind of after seeing some of the memos that were exchanged when the episode was written, it's amazing it even made it to the screen, just how difficult it was putting this together. And that's partly, I think, why Gene Coon's name is actually on it, because he rewrote the entire script from what it was. But yeah, and again, this came at a time when I believe Star Trek was picked up for another 8 episodes for the second season, because they had the initial order and this came in. So they needed to turn around scripts very, very quickly. So they picked this up, and even Gene Roddenberry kind of, I guess, looks like greenlit this, because apparently it was not his style of Trek. It was a little too funny for him, not as serious for him. So this came toward the end, I guess, of Gene Coon's tenure, and he's the one who championed this to some degree, because there were some scathing memos coming back from Dorothy Fontana and Bob Justman. They did not like the original idea. They basically said that it's not a comedy, it's not a drama. What is this? There's no story here. And Gene Coon basically handed it off to John Lucas and said, listen, I mean, this is going to be a problem. It's going to have to be rewritten. But he took that on and actually wrote the first 3 acts from the first, and then finished the 4th one on request when he was in New York. So it's kind of amazing all of this came together. Again, it's a wonderful thing to watch. A lot of what's in this episode sort of caught on, certainly with the fans, and maybe even beyond that. There's a lot of that kind of permeating through. There's a piece of this that could have ended up in Deep Space Nine, and I'll save that for things left unsaid.
Whoa, overall, that is a good tease. What? All right, sorry. Please continue.
But overall, it's just it's certainly a fun episode to watch. Probably it has one of the largest amounts of speaking parts you'll see on the original series. They spend a hell of a lot of money. I mean, I guess the costumes could have been pulled from storage, so they had to make nothing. So they just basically got a bunch of double-breasted suits. They used the backlot, and I guess being part of Paramount helped a little bit, because they'd opened it up to more backlots and more stages, so they were able to do this. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Matt Jeffries used to work on the Untouchables, one of the television series that had to do with, I guess, the Gangsters. So he was very familiar with, I guess, set design for something like that. So it was easier for him to design. So again, everything sort of fell into place. And one thing I found a little disappointing is, Walter, you started the episode and then that was it for you. It's just kind of odd that they had you just say a couple of lines at the top of the episode, and they never came back. I don't think they typically did this, because obviously they had to pay for an appearance, and they didn't really use you. So that was a little disappointing for me. But other than that, again, the episode's a lot of fun.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Jason M. Oken. All right, Allison Leach-Hyde, Let's Fly. What'd you think?
It is a fun episode. It's not my favorite of TOS, but it is a lot of fun to watch, and everyone seems like they're having a great time. I really enjoy Shatner in this, because he's playing the laughs. Like, he's like, I'm here for a good time. I get to wear a pinstripe suit, and they put a fuzzy fedora on my head. I'm going to go for it. And I truly enjoyed the scene where he is on the pool table, talking to everyone, telling them what we're doing, and really getting into, doing the whole 20s gangster shtick. I thought it was so much fun. And I do have to say, Uhura stole a scene for me, and she had 2 lines, but when she smiled, when she caught on to what Kirk was saying at the end, before Scotty did, that smile on her face, I'm like, yes, you got there before he did. I was enjoying all the one-liners. I think my favorite is, what was it? They don't do nothing till they're done sparkling. I'm like, it's true. They do nothing till they finish sparkling. Then they're allowed to move. And I thought that was just fun. And the kid, I have to agree with Melissa, is like a joy in that episode. He's so much fun. I want my daddy. I want my daddy. And Kirk's like, oh, wait, that's me. Running down the block. So I thought it was a ton of fun. And I like the idea of what happens if we do leave something somewhere, and what could happen with it. And the power of, a book, I think, is really great. So I like that kind of message about the episode.
And we like the message that you left with this episode. Thank you very much, Allison Leach Hyde. Chuck A is the TOS fanatic. What'd you think of this one?
Well, I always like this episode. It's one of the better original series episodes, especially in the second season. I wanted to ask anybody if they wanted to play a game of Fizbin, since I got a Star Trek card set. Try to get a Royal Fizbin, but it's extremely difficult.
Wait, hold it up again, Chuck A, for a second.
Yeah, this is just a Star Trek card set.
Oh, okay. Pretty good, though. See Walter there.
Yeah. A couple of my favorite scenes in the episode was this scene with Krakow on the transporter there with Scotty about the concrete galoshes, and I forget how he phrased it. Scotty phrased it, but that was a really enjoyable scene. And as Allison meant, Melissa and Allison, I think they both mentioned about the driving, Kirk trying to drive the car, and Spock didn't, for some reason, seem to enjoy it. The kid in the scene was also good, but I want my daddy and everything. I believe that kid was also in the Andy Griffith Show, played one of Ron Howard's friends. I'm pretty sure. And my very favorite scene, as I mentioned, is the Fizbin and the Royal Fizbin, and you can't you got to get a Jack and a 4 on Tuesday, whatever the line was. He was making it up as he went. It was really good. The episode itself, I thought, was, like I said, one of the, if not top couple 2 or 3 of season 2 of TOS. Really good, well done episode.
Oh, high praise. Thank you very much, Chuck A. All right, the Dark Lord is up next. Chris McGee, your thoughts?
Well, I thought the episode was okay. It's definitely one of the more iconic episodes, mostly because of the costumes and sets and such. And as others have said, it's fun, and the actors were clearly having a great time. But overall, it just feels a little undercooked to me somehow. Maybe because it leans too heavily on the fish out of water comedic aspect, and a lot of the logic just goes right out the window. But it is enjoyable if you don't think too deeply about it while watching it. Probably my biggest nitpick is that Chekhov only has one line in the episode. It's the first line, sure, but still. And I'll save any other nitpicks for things left unsaid. Clearly, it doesn't take a historian or a sociologist to tell you that a society made up entirely of gangsters that are in a constant state of war with each other wouldn't last long, for most of its population died from all the hits. But it does pose an interesting thought experiment. For example, one could say that the Earth today is made up of gangs. Each gang has their own territory known as a country, and they often, too often, put out a hit on each other, i.e. wage war. But we aren't in a constant state of war, however, despite how it may often appear, because, at least I think, we've at least learned that there's usually more to be gained by creating trade agreements and, for the most part, at least getting along with each other, at least on the surface, rather than all the citizens living in constant state of fear. And that's what I would expect from the Iosians after some amount of time. But I'll wager there might be more to be said on this topic and things left unsaid. So I'll go jump on to my memorable word of the episode, and that is, as you might expect, Fizbin.
All right, thank you very much. Chris McGee, up next. You call her Crafty Bear. We call her Carrie Schwent. Carrie, what'd you think of this one?
It's delightful. I absolutely enjoyed every second of it. I think it's become one of my favorites. My number one favorite being The Trouble with Tribbles, but
Wow.
This one is definitely a close second. I love everything about the era of like the 20s to the 40s, the suits, the vests, the fedoras. I mean, I dress for a theme whenever possible. You know me. And Kirk and Spock looked fantastic in there's just something about pinstripes. They look good on everybody. I'm sad that Bones didn't get to put on a pinstripe suit, because I bet you would have rocked it just as easily. Too bad nobody else got to go down either, because I honestly would have loved to have seen what kind of like flapper dress they might have put on Uhura. She would have looked adorable in a flapper style dress. Give her fun little jewelry in her hair. I love Downton Abbey, so I can easily picture all the kinds of dresses she would probably be wearing. Just absolutely historical. So many laugh out loud moments. There was one of the guys that Spock neck pinches. His eyes like pop out of his head. I rewound it a couple of times just because it was so darn funny. Yeah, creating the card game was fantastic. I don't do poker. I can never remember all the card combinations, so I will not be playing Uchuk in the game of Fizbin, because I definitely would not do very well at that.
Mm-hmm.
And like everybody else, watching Kirk drive, I honestly related to it because a former roommate my ex and I had tried at one point to teach me to drive stick shift, and after about an hour, he declared me hopeless and made me get out of the driver's seat. I lost count of the number of times I stalled that poor pickup truck. Yeah, Kirk is absolutely fantastic in the episode. I think it's probably my favorite episode of his. Just how much he's clearly enjoying himself. I mean, as the episode progresses, he goes more and more native. So he starts talking more like him, and the accent starts slipping, and he's clearly enjoying himself every second. I loved him with the kid, especially that whole scene with the kid was just. He was sweet with the kid. It was fantastic, and Spock sort of chiming in on some of the like, that's correct. Yeah, Spock was also absolutely laugh out loud funny. I did enjoy the guest actors. I didn't recognize them necessarily from anything, but my husband recognized the one of them as he was on the show Alice. He was on I think most of that series. So I recognized his voice. I couldn't place it. It's possible I heard it a lot growing up. I'm pretty sure my grandmother used to watch all the ones from that area. So I probably somewhere in the back of my head, that's probably why I thought his voice sounded familiar.
Yeah, thick payback.
Yeah, and I did have a little fun with the haiku for this one, and it's sort of after the bit at the end. The feds are taking over, so it's from the perspective of the new guy, the guy that Kirk left in charge. Who is this wise guy? His outfit's taken over. They made me top boss.
I felt like there was going to be one more line coming in.
I know.
I think we all just paused. What a dramatic pause.
Yeah. Well, haikus are only 3 lines.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you very much. Carrie Schwent, a.k.a. Crafty Bear, the Matt Boardman, is the same way. He does 2 lines, too. What do you think of this one?
Whoa.
For his haiku, for his poem.
Not supposed to talk about that on air.
Wow.
You know what? It's a fun episode. This is a fun episode, but it made me think this time watching it. It's like, how interesting is it that this alien civilization took a book and completely patterned their society around it, right? But it's so incomplete. It's like it's based on their understanding, their interpretation of this book. What I thought was particularly hilarious is watching Bella Oxmax play pool, because he's just knocking the balls around the pool table. I'm like, at first I was like, man, that guy's not even playing pool. But then I was like, wait, that totally makes sense. He doesn't know what pool is. He doesn't know what the rules are. And then, and then the scene when they pull Kirk, Spock, and McCoy into the warehouse, and the guys are playing a card game. It's like I'm watching. So now I'm watching, right? I know they're not playing pool, right? So what are they playing? What are they actually playing? Are they playing Go Fish? Are they trying to play some sort of poker? I don't know. I don't understand. They don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing money around, right? So anyway, I just thought that's a lot of fun. to see that play out through all of this, and you notice how dirty the streets are, and it's like, hey, when are they gonna fix the lights? I don't know, send him a letter. I did, but he sent it back postage due, and it's like, I don't know, that kind of stuff just made me laugh, and so I appreciate it for that, the fun aspect of it, and also the book. Did you guys? I don't know. I remembered this, but did you guys know that the book shows up in Enterprise?
No.
It's on Travis's shelf. He has the book, the Chicago Monsters of the 20s, on one of his shelves.
That works.
So anyway, so I don't know. Fun episode. It's silly, sure, but you know what? We need to laugh a little bit, right? Just what I'm saying. By a piece of the action, I'm talking about a little bit of laughter of the action.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. The Matt Boardman. That's why we put the article in front of his name. All right. Jake's final take. Sirach, any final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah. When Kirk was first explaining Fizbin, he says, the guy says, "Oh, so I want another Jack," and he says, "No, you don't want another Jack." And then he gets another Jack.
I know.
And the guy, like, if he was even half listening, would have been like, "Yo, what's going on here? You just told me I don't need it. That's not what I want. Now you're celebrating that I got it." So that would have, I mean, these intelligent people couldn't put that together. And I was like, you guys are not really the most intelligent. I was also wondering, they also seem to have been playing with money. And I was like, did they print up bills with our president's faces on them as well? Like that, I was looking at the money and I'm like, is that, where is the money coming from too as well? So I couldn't get around that as well. I don't know. I would like to see a callback to this episode. This would have been great to revisit to see how they would have evolved by dissecting McCoy's transponder, right? I think he said he left it behind at the end.
Yeah.
So this would have been an easy callback episode, 50 years from now. Now you see them all pretending to be like Kirk
Drunks?
and Spock.
Oh.
No, they would pretend to be part of the Federation, and so they would be wearing those outfits and walking around with phasers, and that would be their copy, I guess, of that particular. I would have liked to see that. One of my favorite lines was when he said, "The most cooperating man is a dead man," and I was just trying to think about, is that really cooperating or not? So, and then lastly, I'll say this was hilarious. When Kirk's breaking out of the jail that they put him into, he used a tripwire at the door to trip the guy. And then he used a blanket to put over his head and spin him around 3 times like you're playing that game when you're drunk. And I thought, how can you knock somebody out with a spin around move and then punch him in the stomach? The guy was completely incapacitated with a blanket on his head. I'm like, that's not going to be enough for even a 5-year-old, let alone an adult. So, I was laughing a little bit on that one. But overall, it made me laugh. It was fun. I guess everybody keeps saying fun. So I had fun. It was fun. Was it science fiction? A little bit, very little bit. And they could have upped that up a little bit. I, for example, would have liked them to have beamed the 2 gangsters aboard the ship and actually had a diplomatic meeting with the 2 heads on board the Enterprise. I would have liked to see that. You already beamed one of them off of the planet's surface and brought him on board the ship. Might as well bring the other mob boss and have a meeting down with the 2 leaders and make them actually talk things out. So I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more different results. So yeah, it's my final thing.
That was fun. Walter, do you have any final thoughts on this episode before we go? It's like a a wrap up of the Gangsters, or Srock calls it the gangster rap. What do you think?
Well, I think we've pretty well covered it. I think it's a mistake to desperately find logic in this show. I think it should be taken as tongue in cheek. That ultimately is what they were going for, and just to enjoy it for what it was. Doesn't go down in my book as a show that I thought was extraordinary, authentic science fiction, great science. I just thought it was fun. Take it for what it was, and let's go on to another episode where we really get involved. We really feel for those characters.
Great
That's it.
stuff. Walter, you're getting a lot of compliments in our Zoom chat about your attire, and well-deserved. That's it for us today, everybody. Thank you so much to the Matt Boardman, Carrie Schwent, Chris McGee, Chuck A., Allison Leach-Hyde, Jason M. Oken, Melissa Longo, for myself, Sirach, Walter, Melissa, and of course, Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much for partying with us. We hope to see you next time. And until then, always remember the seventh rule.